Hi everyone. Today we're going to continue our review of the consonant sound groupings. If you're working on implementing a sound wall or you want to shift how you approach teaching phonics, then this is for you. Research shows that our brain makes memory traces of sounds by paying attention to mouth formations. When we begin with the sound, we're laying the foundation for knowledge of graphemes or letters, and this anchors our phoneme-grapheme correspondences. In my work with students, we focus on this speech-to-print approach. When we explicitly teach phonemes, or those individual speech sounds, to students, we begin by introducing the sound in connection to the mouth formation. But what about those nasal sounds? If you haven't heard of nasals, you are not alone. Many programs or trainings may not introduce this concept, but I think you should, and here's why. Consonants are usually grouped or taught according to their articulation features or how the sound is made. These articulatory gestures are grouped by stops, fricatives, nasals, affricates, liquids, glides, and combinations. And if you missed the first few videos, you can check them out on my Instagram TV or on my website. But nasals are those sounds that are produced with an airstream that's directed through our nose. There's 3 nasal sounds in the English language, and they differ in placement of our mouth. So let's take a look at these nasals. All right, so here I have This sound is produced by pushing our lips together, and you can feel that the is made at the front of our mouth, and the sound is then directed out through our nose. So you can have your students look at their mirror and they say, ask them what their lips are doing. They're closed, right? So where in the world is the sound coming out of? You can have your students pinch their nose and try to make the sound. You cannot produce the sound when our nose is blocked because the air is coming out of our nose. This is why we call a nasal sound. I refer to this as our front nasal because the sound is being produced at the front of our mouth. The next nasal is the sound right? We're going to look at our mirror, see what's happening in our mouth as we produce And you want to ask your students, where is your tongue? Right? It's being placed at the top of our mouth, at the ridge right behind our teeth. And I tell my students that this is in the middle part of our mouth. You can ask them where they think the sound is coming out. They may say their mouth, right? Because it's open. So you can have them place their hand in front and feel. Do you feel anything coming out? Nope. So let's try to pinch our nose. Guess what happened? That's right. The sound cannot be made. Why? Because this is a nasal sound as well. Let's talk about the last nasal sound. This sound in isolation can be difficult for both educators and students. It takes some practice and awareness of your mouth to produce this sound. I know I had to practice a bit when I was first learning. So take your mirror, open your mouth wide and drop your chin. You're gonna pull your tongue back to the back of your throat and down, and you're gonna feel that the back of your tongue is gonna slide down, which is what's blocking the airway, and now say, right? We wanna make sure that we're not adding a g sound to the final position. And you can pinch your nose. If you can say with your nose pinched, then you need to continue to practice. And the sound should be directed through our nose. But don't worry, it takes practice. We have 2 spellings for We have digraph NG as in king and rang. And then we have the spelling generalization of before the k, like in think and zinc. Some programs might teach these as clusters, ing, ang, ong, ank, things like that, but you still want to make sure that we're producing those phonemes correctly. So remember, we want to keep the sounds to their purest form in isolation. If you hear an error in sound production, you want to model the sound correctly and have the students echo that sound before moving on. We always want to bring it back to our mouth features and checking that the airflow is being directed through the nose for those nasals. We want to follow up with lots of activities where students are identifying the sound in isolation, within words, and then connecting to reading and spelling. I hope that this video helped a little bit with identifying those nasals and gave you some opportunities to practice. Let me know your thoughts on those nasal sound productions, and if you'd like more tips and information about reading and dyslexia, be sure to follow and get our newsletter at thedyslexiaclassroom.com.